Andy, can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hello, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you. I set up a Google Hangout. I think we're broadcasting. Thank you. We are broadcasting live on air, I think, instead of just to each other, but I didn't know what
No,
else.
I realise. I've got the little message to say, you're about to show everybody how rough you're looking. I just looked at your other one, which is 31 minutes long. I mean, you don't say a thing.
That's right. I was seeing if anyone would join me.
I did hear you sniff, but so how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, how are you doing? You're saying you're feeling rough. I'm so rough I didn't plug my camera in.
Well, I'm always rough. I'm always rough. I'm just I need to get fit and healthy basically, but I keep delaying it when I see pizza.
Tom's still on the 2-5 regime. You know,
Is
2
he?
days fasting. Yeah,
There's
mainly.
going to be nothing left of it.
Well, it is. He's doing it not for the weight thing, though. Of course, that's the bonus, but because it's meant to supercharge your body's self-healing capacity.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, brain
I didn't know.
cells regrow, cells repair instead of just reproduce. And it's when cells mindlessly reproduce we're more in danger of getting cancer.
Oh, right. And is that the big worry? Cancer, the big C.
Well,
Is that the motivation, or was it just to lose weight, or is that just
I think it was the getting fit and helping the body reboot itself instead of yeah, not specifically cancer for Tom, I think, but all those heart troubles and stuff that you get as we get older.
Yeah. Well, it's not just old, is it? I mean, what was it? Mark Bickerton.
Yeah,
How old
shit.
was he? 40?
50. 50.
Was he 50? Was he?
50
I
years
don't
old.
think he was even that old. I didn't think he was that old. I don't think he. I thought he was still in his 40s. I mean, you're probably right,
I only know that
but
people
yeah.
are saying he's only 50, you know, so yeah, I wouldn't dispute it.
God, dear. I mean, I was absolutely shocked when I heard about that. And it does make you think because, we're not okay, there's only like a decade, there's less than a decade between us, but you do start to think, oh God, I'm heading towards that sort of age. I'm around there, and you just think, cool, what should I do? In fact, I went to the doctors and had my heart checked.
I'm about to do that. I think I want an MOT. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I did exactly the same. Got my blood checked. Got all the pressures and everything. I'm overweight, but I know that, and I'm unfit. But I had problems with was having problems with my legs,
Oh,
and I've had some problems with my legs for a few years. But pains in my legs when I'm walking,
Tom has
and
that. Tom has
oh
that.
yeah,
What is it?
well, basically, I mean, it's basically because the muscles aren't strong enough for me, but it can be to do with circulation. So it's worth getting checked out. If you're struggling with that, then it's worth getting your circulation checked. I mean, mine turned out to be within. There's some sort of scale, and if you're in between the scale, in between the sort of numbers, then you're fine. And I was fine, but a lot of people their muscles are just not strong enough, and so if you walk for a period of time, then you'll start getting pains. And it's just about getting fit and healthy. But yeah, if he's struggling from it, go to the doctor and get it checked.
I think
Ask to
it's
get it.
yeah. I think he's probably got that fit and healthy thing going for him now. But I think what happens with nerves is they get pain memory. So
Mm,
even when you've solved the problem, you still get some of the pain sometimes.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think there's a difference. I know what you mean by pain memory, but I think there is a big difference between pain memory and what it is I'm experiencing. And if he's experiencing anything similar, then in the lower part of his legs, then he should really go and get it checked out, because that's sort of memory is not it's not the same sort of intensity as you get when you're walking.
Right.
I think I know. So anyway, I mean, something to talk about anyway. So what else are you doing? You're having a Skype today, obviously.
No, and you remember this is being broadcast on air. No, I was working from home. I was meant to be in a webinar this afternoon, and I thought, oh, well, working from home is really good, because usually, like with Google Hangout, these things are easier for me from home than they are at work, because work puts so many barriers up. So I was preparing to get into the webinar nice and early, and for some reason the laptop won't let me do it. So then I tried to synchronize the Google Hangout with the webinar so that we could sort of mesh together and I could take part anyway, and that didn't work either, hence the long moments of silence as I hoped someone joined me, and I thought, I know who might join me, my friend Andy. Click, click, click.
I was just coming.
Anyway, I'll go on.
Oh, no, I was just saying I was just coming home and I popped into Sainsbury's, so and the phone rang and I was like, what's going on? I thought you probably pressed the wrong button or something.
No. I bet you were surprised.
I was a bit surprised.
I was surprised. You'll have to show me how to do a hangout that isn't like broadcast to the whole universe at some point. But
right.
I'm glad just to have got this done. I'm chuffed. Oh, yeah, I've been doing a module.
You've been doing a what?
I've been doing a module facilitating online learning and communication. Yes, and at some point I will have to run a hangout like this to do a presentation about a project that I'm doing. So now I know I can do it, can't I? Woo.
Yeah, but you probably want to get a third party involved, because who knows about, in case anything goes wrong. Because you know those people from Edinburgh, when they were doing their EDC MOOC, you know they started off trying to run it themselves, thinking that they knew what was going on, what they were doing, but it turns out that they had all sorts of problems, so they had to get third parties involved to actually run the whole thing for them. Just if you're broadcasting to say 100 people, then you just want to take away any sort of doubts or problems that may occur.
Thank you. This should just be a small group of 12 people at most.
Right,
so
okay.
Yeah, probably be able to risk it, do you think?
How many does Google, are they all going to be in the same conversation? How many can be in the conversation at the same time? I thought it was 10, but
right.
I can't remember.
Mind you,
I can't remember, because they've actually, since I last used Google Hangout, they've updated it all, so it may have all changed, and my information might be out of date.
Right. I mean, in a way, if I'm going to be doing it from home, I'll have to do it on Google Hangout anyway.
Yeah.
What I was going to, because we had to do something synchronous, so I was going to do a blog post and then advertise a Twitter chat at a certain time about the blog post, so I could do something synchronous about something that was asynchronous. But people didn't look very happy when I said that.
Well, it's confusing, isn't it? So, and people aren't quite sure, and until they're certain in their heads what you're talking about. You know, people will always look confused, won't they? And uncertain.
Right, a question for you. If you're doing
Right.
a Twitter chat, because you've done one,
Yep.
if you have, say, hashtag whatever, and you're having do all the tweets appear in that page with the hashtag on it, so you can run the conversation from that one space?
Yeah. If all yes. So you're going to have to say it broke up a little bit, but what I think you're saying is you need a hashtag on the end so that everybody can see all the conversation, and the answer is yes.
Right, you know what's happened since that Heartbleed? I still can't access Twitter from home, and I still can't access Coursera from home. And I've tried going in and changing the preferences, you know, like someone told me on Facebook the other week, and nothing
Right.
happened. I've still got it. Just won't let me.
You know,
Yeah,
you know what we should do when we're not live
yeah.
is that you should probably. Do you remember that a long time ago we used a little bit of software where you could access my computer and I could access yours.
I remember it very, very well. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps we should do that, and then I can have a little look around and see if there's anything obvious. I mean, I'm not, as you know, I'm not an expert, but perhaps I can do something that see things that you can't, and maybe free it up in that way. Just do all the basic things like cleaning up your cache memory, and all those sorts of things. You know, I don't mind doing that tomorrow afternoon, if you don't mind giving me the access.
Oh, that would be brilliant, Andy. So maybe not now, because I'm waiting for
no, not.
you know,
I can't do. I can't. You know, anyway,
can't. But we could book it one time. That would be lovely.
Yeah, some weekend or it's not. At the moment, weekends are the better for me. But and some afternoon, when you know, lazy afternoon, and I'll do that for you, and you can get on doing whatever it is you do at home, and I'll clean up your computer. It'd be like me sitting in your kitchen table if you have one working on your computer, but I'm just 200 miles away.
I love this. I mean, it's terrible because every time you quibble something in technology, people think you're a Luddite and that you're just being awkward. But I love the technology and what it allows us to do. Is there are certain things they want to make us do, and I think I don't want to do that because that's bad practice.
Mm.
So I'm not saying no.
Actually,
pardon?
I feel really out of the loop because I haven't had reason to explore. You know, I've had some of the things I've been doing with unemployed people. You know, I don't have to explore to find new things. I'm just using old things which I've done before because it's new to them. And I really need to get back into some sort of position where I can explore new things and have reason to do it. I find that I sort of lose my enthusiasm if I don't have reason to do things. So if I was when I was working with you on the book and things, that gave me reason to explore. When I was doing that MOOC, it gave me reason to explore. But lately I've just lost my enthusiasm for it.
I have missed you in the Webosphere. When we were all doing EdMOOC together, and then the second run, I felt that we were all connected, and you're the person who's dropped off my radar, and that's really sad because you started off as my friend. So you're the last person I want to drop connection with.
Yeah, I'd actually, the dropping off the radar was deliberate because I wanted to have a little bit of time away.
Yeah. Because
I was actually getting an awful lot of questions put to me. Andy, can you do this for me? And I don't mind doing things for people, and as you know. But when you get an awful lot of requests, it takes up a lot of my time. And I reached a point where I was thinking, I'm doing all this stuff and it's all for free. And that's great, but I want to get paid for doing some of the things that I'm doing, and and I'm actually using up time that I could be using to find work, and to find a point on it. And so it's so I thought I'm going to drop off the radar a little bit. It hasn't stopped Angela asking me stuff, but I don't mind.
Yeah, all good things. Mind you, I am you can't see me wagging my finger at you, but I'm wagging my finger at you. If Paul could set up his Paul's e-learning website, and offer himself as a consultant, you could have done that.
But I'm not in the same league as he is. I don't know what it. I mean, he has understanding of hardware, and I come from a completely different background. I understand. I know it's frustrating, and I've frustrated it myself sometimes. Oh, you've just written something.
Yes, 'cause I didn't want to say that out loud.
no worries, no worries. I want to read it now, and you've distracted me. You've broken my train of thought.
So sorry.
I've learned a few things about Twitter actually, which I've learned that the education community is so behind when it comes to other communities using Twitter, and some of the things that I thought I knew. I'm not actually running it all on my own, but I'm running it with some unemployed lads. There's another Twitter address, and it's called JSA Claimant. I can't remember the exact address. Right, and it's got something like 1,000 followers, and it gets something like 200 interactions a day. Now, some of those interactions are just people favoriting things or retweeting, but a lot of them are people replying, and you think it was a bit of a shock to the system, but and in comparison, the community that my main Twitter address, you know, the Andy DM Mitchell is in, is very quiet. You know, even if I post stuff that people are interested in, they don't retweet it. They will go to the page and then share it themselves. So they don't retweet you. So they're not. You retweet me sometimes, but not many people do. And it's a completely different atmosphere in Twitter than it is on using this different account, and it's amazing. I was shocked by it. I really was. And when people used to say, "Oh yeah, but you know, Twitter takes so much of my time," I was thinking, well, it doesn't take up much of my time. But now I understand why people say that, because I'm working within a different community, and these people, they retweet, they favorite, they comment, they have people just don't. People will come out with the oddest of things. They don't feel nervous at all about replying to you, whereas, you know, you guys are rubbish. Sometimes it's like we were talking about the Twitter chats and the thrill that you get from the Twitter chat, and you probably remember everybody discussing how excited they felt about the first Twitter chat we had with the first EDC MOOC. In fact, all 5 weeks. Well, there are days when there's a friend of mine called Richard who posts on there quite a lot, and he said something, I can't remember what it was, but somebody had been really rude to him about him being unemployed, and he was retweeted 230 times. He had, and this is in a period of a couple of hours. He had people favoriting, he had people replying, and he was trying to reply to everybody. And he came back and he said, "Wow, wow." You know, he was completely taken aback, but he was thrilled by the whole thing as well. And I was thinking after listening to him talk, God, that's the same feeling as I felt on that Twitter chat.
Yeah.
And he did, you know, all he did was one tweet that started it all off. So there's something to be explored here in more academic terms at some point. What the difference is, and what perhaps you guys can do differently, perhaps.
I think that's what you bring to the table, and it's a bit, you know, that old saying, you're focusing on the whole and not the donut. I know there are probably some things that you don't have, that maybe, say, Paul's e-learning does have, but then you have a myriad of things that we in the, as you say, we in the academic community don't have at all, and you bring that to the table, and you've got to start valuing what you bring instead of what you don't have.
I know that you've said that for years, but the thing is, I don't think, and I think a few people do recognise that in me, but I think there's an awful lot of people that don't see what you're seeing, and I think that's a really big hurdle for me. So really, I mean, I've sort of been put off by it, and I'm doing other things now. You know, it's a long time ago since I left university, did my degree, and and was working in London. So, you know, it's a long time to really sort of devote to trying to get my foot in the door. So I sort of decided to move away and do something else. But, you know, still, you know, talking to you guys and stuff, and just thinking that maybe I can come back at a later time when I've had new experiences.
Yes, I think that's right, and it sounds like you're doing some really nice stuff with these unemployed lads. So that's
yeah, I mean, technically, I mean, it's finished now, but they want to re-employ me, so I've just kept the Twitter thing going on, and with the Twitter thing, obviously, I keep up the conversations with a few of them, so it's a bit like you guys, really. You know, get employed for a certain period of time, and then carry on the conversation for another 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely.
Oh well, say la vie. That's the way it goes. So I think there are things that, yeah, I think there are things you guys can teach me, and I think there are things that I can teach you. I was looking at Helen Webster's document that she's done about Twitter, and I was thinking it's good, but it isn't quite right, and you know, there are things that could be changed by it. But it's probably because she hasn't had that experience. You know, she's working within an education group on Twitter, and therefore she hasn't had that thrill that I've had from a different account.
That's right, and it would be lovely to share that. I mean, I was meant to be doing an online collaboration with these lecturers that I'm in my module with, and so I was saying one of the things it would be good to do would be to carry this conversation on in Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus, because that way we reach out to our broader PLN, and I'm sorry, something went ping, it distracted me. We reach out to our broader PLN, and also these slightly more informal spaces encourage us to also socialise as well as just do the work. And then we ought to like and reply and comment on each other's posts, because that way we know that we're in contact with each other. No one took the blindest bit of notice of me.
I've had
you know.
I've had very similar experiences. You know, the people who wanted the LDHN group that wanted to do the MOOCs, and what they wanted to do, stay within the safety of their technology. You know, they didn't want. Well, they talked about wanting to use Hangouts and using Facebook and stuff, but you know, how long is it since I was at that conference? Over a year ago now, and we haven't had one Hangout. So I was just like, I'm not really interested. And also, I've had doubts about MOOCs since then. So, and whether MOOCs actually offer what they say on the tin. But whether it's, you know, the access and the openness, whether the openness is the big thing. That's, you know, and I haven't really, like I always do, I think about these things but never write it down properly, so never really solidified my thoughts. But the openness, I think I wrote to you once saying that they should do things about driving driving lessons and all that, you know, different levels of education to suit different groups, but at the moment it keeps aiming at the same sort of academic group. Yes, it does. But are you with me? Do you understand? You know that, and this is where I want to see. I'd like to see them broaden out.
Dave Cormier, who started off the Rhizo 14. Oh, you saw him at
I have followed it from a distance.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen you posting, and I've kept up some of the conversation, read some of the conversations, but I didn't want to go too deeply into it because I knew that I could lose myself inside it. So.
Well, one thing that he said is that, I mean, and he's been doing it for a lot longer than any of us, is that he has actually found out, so it's not just a feeling, he's actually found out that youth can't engage with MOOCs in the format that they are. So that he is working with some physics lecturers to try and develop something MOOCish that would actually engage younger people and would be at the level of you know, their studies, like Physics 101 or something, or high school physics. So he's trying to think in how to do it. But you're right. I mean, we all know it. At the moment, the MOOC it's drawing in people already academically able, and still people are getting rebuffed. Look at how upset one of our colleagues got. You might have seen the debate in RISO 14 when they thought the other people were boasting of their academic prowess. So this was person who was digitally literate and academically literate, and still suddenly felt excluded and rebuffed. So
it's easily done, you know. I mean,
very.
I found it very specifically with an American, with American academics, that they were prone to do it, and they didn't realise at all.
Yeah.
You know, and there was no intention on their part to do it, but people were getting upset by them, by what they were saying. I don't know if that was the case with this one, but I certainly saw it in EDC MOOC, the first one, to a lesser extent on the second one, because I think the student, it was a much smaller. It was much smaller than we thought it was actually. I think the active participants were a lot smaller than even the statistics suggest.
Yeah, we did have a fabulous MOOC, didn't we?
Oh, it was wonderful. Have you seen there's another one that's just coming up. I think it's starting next week. Run by the University of London.
No.
Let me just do a quick search. If I could spell. Are you seeing? You're seeing my image on your screen, are you?
I see you, yeah, and you see my picture, looking a little bit younger. I like that picture.
Yeah, it is a good picture. I mean, I've seen a few of you. They're very similar poses.
Not poses, darling.
I'm sure I'd join this. It's all acting very slowly. Oh, I know. Just a minute. Sorry. My computer's having a bit of a go slow.
Yeah, mine does all the time.
I need a new one.
Yes, I know. What would happen to my paperclip?
Actually, that's nothing to do with the new computer. That's software, isn't it? But you know, just like just talk amongst yourselves for a moment.
Okay.
How are you more generally? I saw your some images of a World Cafe type event that you held with an illustrator and.
Oh, did you see that? We called it a one-day conference, and it was Pauline presented, Debbie and a colleague from Anglia Ruskin presented, Tom and I presented, and then Chris O'Reilly got everyone together and tried to make little animations out of their reflections on the day. And we had the beautiful scribe, Rachel Duran, scribed the event. We liked it so much, we want to do another one next year.
Looked fantastic.
Yeah, it was
fun.
fun.
What do you do to try and attract more men, though? I mean, it was very noticeable that it was very female.
Isn't it strange? At the Aldin conference this year, at the first keynote speech, I was reading the audience, and there were about 30 men to 90 women.
Yeah.
And that, I thought, was a lot of men compared to a normal learning development event. Yeah.
I think it's to me it's a worry. You know, if it's going to, I mean, I'm not suggesting that you guys don't do great work as women, but you know, we need, if we can, there are so few men involved. It just seems like there's something wrong going on. You know, I don't
I
know if
think
you
it's
agree.
because it's seen as a nurturing role rather than a
Yeah.
strict academic disciplinary role. So that turns off some men, and some women don't feel so afraid of stepping into that sort of role. But of course, then it has that other bind that because there are so few men, they tend to be the ones that rise to the top. Everyone who's in a position of power on the Aldine steering group, no, except for the vice chair, is now male.
That's weird, isn't it? That's daft
Yeah,
as well. I mean, equally daft.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the same in primary teaching, you know. If you enter primary teaching, you'll find that most of the other primary teachers are female. Many of the head teachers and the deputy heads are male. And people that have entered the profession said when they were coming in as men, people were saying, look, just do a year or so, do this, and you will be promoted. You will become a deputy head within months. Whereas women, just there forever.
Yeah, just yeah, some
Oh,
things that
right.
need to
What? Yeah, I can see it now.
So this is University of London, working alongside the University of London Careers Service, and it's called Enhance Your Career and Employability Skills. Now, if you read down, I think it says it on here, although it might be in an email that I got. This course is different to others. Unlike many Coursera courses which are discipline specific, this MOOC would be complementary to any additional course of study, as it enables you to recognize your own strengths and skills. I don't know if you recognize those words, but I said something very similar about an LDHEN MOOC.
Yes. Yes.
And I was, some people dismiss me, other people listen. But that is exactly what I wanted you guys to do. And obviously, I probably didn't put it across well enough. Or
Well, you know what a grumpy git you are.
So it's my fault. Yeah. I was quite passionate when I went down to Plymouth to try and explain it. But since then, you know, in those meetings, those online meetings, nobody's really wanted to do it. And then, you know, somebody gets an idea, oh, I want to do it for this group of people, or I want to do it with that group of people, and then somebody, and that's where the discussion goes. Whereas I was trying to say, you know, basically, what, you know, I mean, this obviously is aimed at career and employability skills, but very similar. This is the course that I wanted to offer.
Yeah.
But LGH, you know, for you guys, learning development.
You know, I think,
and
I think you are right, but in a way, I think what we're trying to do is not make the same mistakes we could be argued to have made with Learn Higher. Because in the end, you know, it was, what should we do with Learn Higher? Are we staff-facing? Are we student-facing? Oh, well, let's be both, you know? And so where we're going with what I want us to call our project is an OOD, with due respect to Doctor Who. So I want to call it Open Online Development, not call it a MOOC at all, and run it a bit like Rise 014, the community is the curriculum. So that once we've got all the different elements we might want to lead discussions on, different people might volunteer and say, oh, I'll lead that fortnight that we're looking at role-playing or whatever. And that person starts the conversation off with the understanding that other people would bring as much to the table. So someone might start it off, they're starting it off from a practical point of view, and someone in the community might be interested very much in the theory behind it. So they join the conversation emphasising the theoretical, and then someone else can pitch in with add-ons to either or of those points, and maybe, as you say, set up a hangout if someone's specifically interested in something, and let it form itself. And I think you're right that right at the beginning people were much too concerned about the platform, the technology, instead of thinking, well, what are we talking about here? And I think people were still thinking about it in too teacherly a mode, instead of a community of practice mode, to use the jargon a bit.
Community of practice.
I know.
He's still my favourite, the guy who coined that phrase. What was his name? Etienne Wenger.
He was at the conference this year, Andy. He's a
Facebook friend. He's a Google Plus friend
of mine. Yeah.
I've had chats with him. We've had chats about MOOCs, and we've had chats about all sorts of things. And not for a while, not for over a year now, but he suddenly got in contact with me one day, and he was looking through his email, and my name popped up, and he made the connection.
Oh, brilliant!
And since then, some of his colleagues have tried to add me as friends. I haven't taken them, but they're still there in case I've. And I'm like, woohoo! I was just a student.
To my comment earlier. Oh, you arse!
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, it all comes around. I remember emailing him. I think was it 2005 when I went to Cambridge the first time?
Yes.
Maybe, and I think it was. And I emailed because there was this big, at that point, communities of practice wasn't really understood.
No.
You know, there was a lot of conjecture, there was a lot of discussion, there was a lot of people being dismissive. And I don't think you went to the first one, but I was there with Debbie and John Cook and stuff like that. And I didn't really get it, and I just thought, oh, sod it, I'll go online and I'll look at this Etienne Wenger bloke and I'll email him. So that's exactly what I did. And then I sounded really intelligent the following day.
You star. That is what all this technology is about.
In actual fact, I did it throughout my university degree. If there was something in an academic book that I didn't quite understand, and at this point I was struggling to get access to the lecturers because they were never available, and they were always complaining about. You know, like lecturers always do, that they were too busy and they didn't have time to see students. So I thought, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll contact the writer, not thinking in my head that he's also a lecturer who's probably too. And that's what I did. I emailed them and asked them the questions, and the guys wrote back to me. That's how I always used to do it, and that's why I've never had a fear of contacting anybody who might have some sort of theory and stuff. Just look them up online and email. Sometimes they reply, sometimes.
You harness that in setting up your own web space and offering yourself as a consultant. Why can't you harness that lack of fear for that?
Consultancy is difficult. I mean, I've actually been on a little course, and they said to get yourself established as a consultant is really difficult, especially in the area that you're doing, because it's so limited. What you need to do is something much wider. But again, I've sort of drifted away. I'm out of the loop. I'm not involved in higher education on a daily basis anymore. And so, those things that made me authentic in the past, I'm not as authentic now, because I'm not talking to students, I'm not talking to lecturers, I'm not doing those things, where I can make those links.
But as Wenger says there are seven aspects of a community of practice, and it's very important to have inside and outside positions. And you are inside this world, the multimodal world, and you are still in contact with the academic world. So you bring a different authenticity, not a no authenticity, but a different one.
I understand, and I recognise that as well. But for me to have the confidence that I get the confidence from doing those things.
Yeah.
From working with people, from talking to students, to talking to academics. That's where the confidence comes from, because then I can sort of formulate my own ideas and thoughts. At the moment, when you're sitting,
suddenly start hating us all, and you think we're all arses, and then you don't talk to us anymore.
I do think a lot of them are asses. I have lost a lot of respect for some people, I have to say, but I think that's probably a good thing, because I can say exactly what I'm thinking more. If I was ever to go back into within that community, but those people that when you're a student, you sort of, when somebody says something, when an academic says something, you sort of, although you're taught to be skeptical and to not believe everything, you believe them more than you do other people. Do you know what I mean? You know, if the bus driver said it, you're not going to believe him so much. And what I've come to realise is that in this area that we talk about, this online area, that this strange world, is no one really knows what they're talking about. That no one's ever really knowledgeable in all areas, and we are really feeling our way through the dark, aren't we, to try and understand what's going on. And I didn't really grasp that until quite recently.
I think that's the beauty of this moment, that this moment is a real revolutionary moment. It's like the moment when Plato sat down with Sophocles and they started chatting, and that became the Socratic method, and it launched, thousands of years of certain ways of thinking. And that's what's wonderful about this moment. We are at this moment, and this is it's happening now.
I've said the same. I think I've said the same before. That you can see it. We don't understand these things because so many things are happening at once.
Yeah.
And we're not as human beings, we're not going to understand. It's only going to be those people 200 years down the line who will understand. Or even further. We can help the process along by, but we're not going to fully understand. This is so much to take in. And at the same time, we've got all this horrible politics that we have to deal with. We have horrible capitalism that we have to deal with. It's so many different things, and it's just, it's just very, very confusing. Are you with me on that?
The thing is that is as it should be. The illusion that it isn't confusing and that there is certainty is something that needs to be dispelled from academia. And that's what's so beautiful about this moment, is that we can live the uncertainty as long as we give ourselves permission to enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. What I found was when I sat in those online, listening to them talking about MOOCs, is they didn't seem open to any sort of new ideas, because they didn't have the knowledge or experience that we've actually gained by messing about with MOOCs and messing about with different types of sort of web technology, even Prezis and things like that. That sort of led us on to playing with animation, to playing with all those different types of tools that are available. Those people haven't done that, and therefore, when I listen to them, I'm thinking, oh God, it's like dealing with cavemen, in a sense.
Yeah.
With apologies to anybody who might have been in those. I know that we're live, aren't we? So apologies. Yeah. Just assume that I've apologised. But that's how that's how it feels anyway. Gosh. Oh, you're writing more down.
I am. I just wrote some more. Oh, look, I better go. I think Digby. I'm trying not to mention names. I think I might be getting that phone call any minute. So I'd better. I think
you've already let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
You've already mentioned that name twice. So.
Oh. Damn it.
Oh no, one might be. Oh well.
Oh, it's been so nice catching up with you, Andy. Should we do it again soon?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love doing it. I mean, I'm going to a Unite conference for the first time tomorrow. I'm getting involved with unions a little bit. Got a few ideas. they want me to organise some events as well. But I've got to get trained up first. I've only just joined. But yeah, so I'd like to share that with you at some point.
Oh, really? Yeah. Excellent.
This enhanced your career and employability skills. It might be an idea if you shared that with people. Maybe on your list.
Can you link it? Well, you could link it.
I'll send it to you in an email. But
yes, yeah,
but
I will.
certainly about the course, you know, that ties in with exactly. I mean, I know you're going to say, oh, you should do it yourself, but coming from you, people read it. People don't necessarily take it on as much if it comes from me. But really, this is what I wanted the group to do. This is the sort of MOOC that I wanted them to do. And maybe if they had a look at it and had a thought about it, maybe they would see where I'm coming from.
I will. You send it to me. I'll share it with the list.
That's lovely. All right.
Thank you. All right.
Lovely to
Speak
chat.
soon.
And hello to anybody that might watch this.
Oh dear God.
any 3 people that might watch it.
Okay, we did.
All right,
Cheerio.
I'll speak to you.
Speak soon.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.